Welcome to the second episode of 1 year. I want to say that this podcast today is a little different than last week's because we are doing it live on Twitch today. So whoever is here in chat, I appreciate you guys being here. If you guys want to watch the next podcast, it will also be live. I heard some feedback from a couple of the viewers that doing it live might be more enjoyable so that we can have a bit of a Q&A in between the podcast. But I want to start today by reiterating again the purpose of this podcast, in that I'm starting this for the purpose of spending this year, 2023, to better myself and work towards a lot of goals that I have set for myself. And specifically, the name 1 year implies that I want to be spending every day of this year working as tirelessly as I can to achieving those goals. And again, I want to mention that this is more of a personal journal to the growth that I want to have. So it focuses on 3 different areas myself, and that's important in those 3 spaces for me to work on for the productivity of my future. And those 3 spaces, obviously, if you didn't watch the last episode, are personal, business, and school. And lastly, the whole notion of 1 year centers around that this content is only available for 1 year and 1 year only. So consume it now, and you'll never be able to see it again. So December 31st, 2023, all these videos will be unpublished, and all the podcasts on Spotify will be taken down. I'm not doing this for any monetary gain or any growth within my actual channel. So I genuinely want to build this for myself. If you guys want to listen to it, you're very welcome to. But we're going to get started with personal. Last episode, I mentioned something called cycling. I didn't have time to get into it, but I want to get into that process in much more detail this time. So cycling is a strategy that I'm kind of testing out myself. I've heard some iterations of it in the productivity scene, but I think it's very focused on working as hard as you can and less about reflection and also preparation. So with that being said, there are 3 stages of cycles that I am implementing into my life. And obviously that sounds kind of weird and kind of crazy and kind of out there, but if you let me discuss it and continue, it'll make a bit more sense. But those 3 cycles are loading, on, and off. So if you refer to me, if I refer to being on loading, I am obviously completing the loading cycle, and on and off respectively. But they individually have their own reasons and have their own purposes. And they influence my day-to-day very differently depending on what type of cycle I am on. So a lot of my families and friends may know that I am on cycle, will hear me be off cycle, on cycle, and now I'm introducing something called loading cycle. And that's obviously, in my opinion, maybe the most important one that I felt that was being missed from a lot of these like monk modes, or like intense, like nightmare mode, whatever, these intense periods of work. And I feel like they were missing on loading and off periods. So let's dive into it. Loading is a period of 1 week. On is a period of 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how much work you guys have to get done. I mean, sorry, for me. And 1 week off. They have different sets of constraints and kind of a different set of thinking and a different motivation, purpose that they focus on depending on the cycle. So loading comes first with that first week of loading. So I'm gonna take a little step back and just slow down a bit. I feel like I'm kind of rushing this a little bit. It's pretty simple to understand, and I don't want to stress you guys out, and I don't want to imply that it's a very like an extreme task, because I know that all these ideas of cycles and loading on and off can kind of sound a little intense. Obviously, it's intense, but you deal with it the way you want to deal with it. I'm saying this from a perspective of I know what constraints I want for myself and what I want to get done. So I'm putting myself in a period of loading on and off to try and maximize what I can get done over 4 weeks, 5 weeks. That's all it is. I kind of have goals that I set for 4 to 5 weeks, and my plan is to complete one full cycle, and see what I get done. It may not work. It may work extremely well, but we'll see. And that's the whole point of testing it out now. Is if I find something for me that introduces an extreme amount of productivity, then that's fucking awesome, because I figured it out at the age of 21 how I want to spend all my time and figuring out the best way that I can get hard work done. But anyways, back to loading. Loading is summarized for me into 3 different constraints. Obviously, if you guys want to go about this, it's up to you, but the 3 constraints I have are I need to at least have 9 hours of sleep a day. So I did this loading cycle, the week of the podcast I was recording. So not this week, the week before, I was doing loading. So I was having 9 hours of sleep every single day, which can produce a sleep bank. I know that some people don't think it's real. It actually is real. If you obviously, if you have a lot more sleep and bank your sleep, then sometimes when you have less sleep, you're not going to be impacted as much and be as fatigued. But that doesn't mean you can sleep for 12 hours and sleep for 4 hours the next. That's not how it works. But I try to get 9 hours of sleep every single day, so that when I'm on, I don't have to have as much sleep and I can gain an extra hour and a half to my day. But the next constraint is 3 to 3.5 hours of screen time, meaning phone screen time. I don't know if anybody in chat wants to pull up their screen time right now and kind of see where it's at, but last year I was finding myself having a difficulty of getting under 5 hours of screen time, maybe even 6. Like, I know some of my friends with 8 hours screen times on their phones, and I know I'm not getting anything done on my phone. So I promised myself in loading, I'm not going to pull myself all the way back, but we're going to go 3 to 3.5 hours, because I was hitting around 5 to 6 hours, and that's a bit much for me. So I see somebody in the chat saying they have 3 hours and 40 minutes daily average, which honestly, not awful. I don't think that's that bad, but there's definitely people out there that are having 5 to 6 hours of screen time. And it's mostly TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, not productive scenes in which you're using that time. And then the next and last constraint of loading is not really constraint, but more what the focus of it is. And once I kind of get into these focuses, it makes a little bit more sense about the whole cycling idea. And the focus is to consume information, learn, and prep, so that when you come off of loading and onto on mode, you have a bank of resources that you've created a week prior, and you have everything ready right in front of you, because you spent the week learning and consuming a shit ton of information to just use at your free will. And I think that that's to me, that's how I should work. Basically, spend a week getting ready, basically prep for war, get all of the structure, all of the schedules, all of the actual information, links, videos, books, anything it is, I consume as much as physically possible, so that when I come onto on mode, I am in a warpath. Everything and anything that I have in front of me, I do, and I get done well. That's the point. I prep myself so that I can just go at full fucking steam for 2 to 3 weeks and not look back, because I know for a fact that that 1 week I spent just getting myself ready by sleeping, by going on my phone like a normal amount, not changing too much. I'm also not exercising a whole ton. Obviously, not exercising a whole ton is still for me gymming 4 days a week and running twice, but it's nothing anywhere close to on mode. So I would typically read about 1 to 2 hours every day. I'm also quickly looking back at chat. I have another person saying they have 3 hours and 49 minutes. So in that 3 hour to 4 hour region, that's like typical of loading. I would say like maybe a little bit less than, like, you typically want to get closer to 3 hours if you're doing loading, but that's up to you. But I think there's a lot of time spent on phones and spent on your actual screens way too much, like way too much. So that's why I promised myself that if I was in loading and consuming information, that I would promise myself to get 1 to 2 hours of reading done every single day. And I would do this in the mornings. So typically I would wake up at like 7:30 and then read for like an hour until 8:30 and then get ready for the rest of my day. But I made that extra hour, maybe even an hour and a half if I didn't have class until much later in the day. But I wasn't on my phone consuming information, because I find sometimes if you are watching YouTube videos or watching stuff online, you're not actually consuming true information. You're doing procrastinated information consumption, which is like you're thinking you're being productive by consuming the information, but you're actually not taking any of it in. There's no retention there. There's nothing actually actively working in your brain. You're just consuming it to say, hey, I watched that video once, rather than, I spent, like, I just finished a book. I just finished my second book of the year in the 3rd week of January, which is awesome for me. I don't think, honestly, I read a book last year, a single book. And to say that this time, that now I've read 2 books in 3 weeks, that's insane for me. And the first book was much easier to read. The second book was a little more tough and I had less time to read it, but I finished that book in 2 weeks. So I'm trying to read a book every 2 weeks. That's what I want to go. And I'd be interested to know if anybody who's listening right now live read a book last year. Because I think anybody in my generation or in the generation below, I like rarely or barely know anybody that's read a book, let alone two books in 1 year. That would be a game changer. I have somebody saying, I read stuff by Steven Pinker. Did you read if you read a whole book, I will be very impressed. But anyways, the other important note would be meditating every day for 15 minutes. And 15 minutes is a good chunk of time to just sit there with yourself and only with yourself. That's if you really do that and try to just focus on your breath and just kind of dial into your brain, it's really difficult for 15 minutes. I think during loading, I was only able to get 5 to 7 minutes of just pure focus in meditation. The other 8 to 10 minutes was just my whole brain sporadic. So it's really difficult to sit there for 15 minutes. So that's why I promised myself that I would do it, so that I could build my mental toughness and mental strength, so that I was prepared for my on mode, and that I had the resilience and just, again, mental toughness to get what I needed to get done well and without any stress and control, basically. But yeah, after that 1 week, you go into on mode. and I'm on mode right now. And I will say, after finishing the first week of on mode, the constraints I set for myself are tough. And honestly, I'm putting my body and my brain through suffering almost every single day. Just constant. But I'm enjoying it, which is the really scary thing for me, is that I am noticing myself becoming obsessed with things. And that I haven't felt like that. And I genuinely have not felt like that in such a long time. Just to say, I am obsessed with this. And know that it's not TikTok and not video games or whatever, anything. I know what I'm obsessed with is good for me and is good for my future. And that just, it feels so good, because I lost my passion for school. I lost my passion for fitness and for a lot of different topics over the past 2 to 3 years because of COVID, because of coming back off COVID. It's been tough. I've felt that like I lost my purpose, and in the past week, it feels, I will be honest, it feels fucking amazing. And that this is why I feel so. I want to spread this information out, because I know how good I'm feeling right now and how healthy I'm feeling right now. And I know that other people can do it too. That no matter how old you are or how young you are, like these are not things like the constraints I'm setting are 9 hours of sleep, 3.5 hours, 3 to 3.5 hours of screen time. That's not, and just consume information, read 1 to 2 hours every day, and go and get your regular amount of exercise. And then when I come onto on period, this is what I'm currently doing. I'm sleeping 6.5 to 7.5 hours of sleep. 7.5 is what I want, and I should realistically be trying to get more often. But it's been a little bit difficult this past week and the past few days, especially on the weekends. It can be difficult. I typically go to bed 11:30, and I have woken up for the past week, including Saturday and Sunday. I've woke up at 5:45 in the morning every single day. And for me to say that is really, really good. Like, a week straight of waking up at 5:45 in the morning. I couldn't say I've never done that before. And I know what I'm doing in the morning is so productive as well. So that by the time 9:30 rolls around, I've had 2 hours and 45 minutes of time that I wouldn't have had last year. I was waking up at 9:30, 10 every day. To say I'm waking up at 5:45 in the morning and knowing what I'm doing in that morning when I usually would be sleeping is only to better myself, is just amazing. I just noticed my brother come in, and obviously he is not aware of what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to let him figure out what is going on, and I'm going to continue with the podcast. Benj, I started a podcast, and I am focusing on my mental health, physical health, and working hard. That is it. That is all you need to know. Yeah. So I'm doing a live podcast. It's on Spotify and on YouTube. But yes. So I'm talking about what I'm doing to better myself. It is called 1 year. You can see it on YouTube and you can see it on Spotify. But I'm gonna restart because I'm trying to keep my edits minimal. I'm gonna let you figure it out. Okay. I will get back to you later. Okay. I'm gonna cut back. But yeah, I have been only sleeping about 6.5 to 7.5 hours of sleep, and I know what I'm doing in the morning is seriously productive, and that makes me feel so much better. The other constraint that I've limited myself to during on mode is under an hour and a half of screen time, max 2 hours. If that's maybe if I'm watching a video and I'm making sure that video is of substance and of quality and of good content, I will allow myself up to 2 hours. But I want to be around an hour and a half of screen time. And I can say confidently, I've been fucking good with it. I think the lowest I had this week was an hour and 10 minutes. That was the best I've had. And to say I only spent an hour and 10 minutes, I genuinely, I set the task to all of you to try and have only an hour and 20 or 30 minutes of screen time a day. I genuinely dare you to, because it's tough unless like actively go about your day normally, but make the note of trying to reduce your screen time as physically possible, because it is hard. It is hard to do an hour and 10 minutes of screen time on my phone. I think the majority that I had, I looked at what the amount of screen time was. I think it was mostly just my clock app timing my workouts and timing my cold showers. That was it. But then the 3 core principles of on mode are work, achieve, and success. So I constantly am repeating that ideology of work, achieve it, succeed. And so I focus on working as hard as I can, using all the information that I have from loading and actually acting. And I mean that, like, I'm promising myself to fucking act, because I never have. I've made all these ideas and all these plans, and I've never done it. And it's so tough because I know what I can do and I know what I can achieve. So I promised myself I would act this year. I promised myself that I would do what I wanted to get done, and I will. That's it. I am going to act, and I'm going to act as hard and as much as I physically can. And one of the techniques, just quickly, that I'm using right now, that I've actually just today started using, the rule of 100. And I'm going to do this for myself starting next week, where it's not it's similar to the rule of 10,000 hours produces a master or something like that. It's doing 100 minutes or 100 of something every day or every week or every month over a 12-month period will produce a champion. That's the idea. So I'm forcing myself to do 100 minutes of coding every single day, producing 100 minutes of content a week, besides this podcast, because obviously this podcast can get up to 60 to 90 minutes long. And then 100 minutes of studying every day. This is to force myself, and I have literally a time scheduled. Like now I have like, what's the, I don't know the exact right word for it, but it collects the number of hours and number of minutes that I've spent on something to say, hey, I did 100 minutes of coding today. I did 100 minutes of studying today. I produced 100 minutes of content this week. So it's a tip and a strategy you can use to force yourself to work. I'm realizing I don't think we have enough time to get into on mode this episode, but we will. I think it's best if I explain it when I'm on, like, doing off mode, because I want to get into some other small little details that I've been working on this week, and I think it could actually, those small details, it could be very helpful, basically. One of the aspects that I focused on this week was increasing my confidence, and I'm getting little personal and little vulnerable here in saying that during the entirety of last year, I didn't feel very confident in myself. I felt that my fitness was slipping. My physique was not there. I was getting a little pudgy. I was not feeling awesome. I did not have a lot of self-confidence, and that translated to a lot of self-worth. And then going on top of that of failing and not doing well in school and not doing well in the aspects I wanted to really sucked ass. really, like, just was not helpful in any shape or form. So to go along with my hard working, obviously fitness is so important. And during on mode, I'm currently doing 6 days of gym. That is resistance training 6 days a week. And then on top of those 6 days, I will include 2 HIIT workouts and 2 runs. And then on my off day, I'm not taking a rest day because I honestly don't think a lot of people need rest days. I think the aspect of a rest day is fucking stupid. If you're not tired, there's no need. Take a recovery later, like in 2 weeks. I don't need it right now. I'm good. I am ready. But I will do active recovery. I'm not doing a full recovery. So what I have planned is I'm going to go and I will take a hike or I'll take a walk on a Sunday. Or I'm going to try something. I'm going for a trial session on Wednesday for jiu-jitsu. I'm going to try jiu-jitsu for the first time. So during my rest days, I will do jiu-jitsu, and I'm very excited. I've never done it, and I've always wanted to. So I've always had this idea of trying it because I like physical activity like that. And I want to try it. And I promised myself I would actually fucking try it. My roommate knows this. A lot of other people close to me know that I've always wanted to try jiu-jitsu. And this year, I'm fucking doing it. I'm going to try it. There's a place really close to me. They were really nice. I emailed them, said, hey, can I have a trial session? They said, yes, of course. Come on Wednesday. I said, awesome. So I'm going to go try. So the other point with confidence that I'm going to get back to is a few of you who are here in chat and maybe off last episode will have noticed that my appearance slightly changed. My actual physical appearance slightly changed in that I got a haircut. I got a haircut and also committed to a specific style with my beard and mustache. Because I was looking a little rugged before. I was looking a little out of where I was growing all my hair out basically. And I said, fuck it. I want to try a different style with my hair, and I want to try a different style with facial hair. I've never had proper facial hair before, and I'm trying something, and I feel fucking like 10 out of 10. But I'm being honest, I feel confident. And I feel like that's more from the fact of committing to my look and committing to my a new appearance that I've never tried before. And that's where the confidence comes from. So I genuinely suggest this to people that aren't feeling confident and want to feel confidence within a very short period of time. Go get a haircut. Simple. Just go get a haircut. And when you go get a haircut, think about how it makes you feel. Because there's a constant joke online of like guys and their barbers or even girls and their hairdressers being so connected. It's because you get that confidence from your barber or your hairdresser. And so you feel a direct connection to them because of that confidence that they have basically instilled into you by them giving you a haircut. Let's get back. Okay, haircut. If you guys want to go get a haircut and genuinely want to feel confidence really quickly, just do it. Like I felt like a new man coming out of the barber. I went to a new barber. I spent, I think, $15 more than I usually would, and I think it was worth it. I like my haircut and I feel confident with it, and it was so important that I did that. Question was, how much was it? I paid 45 Canadian dollars, which is that's a reasonably expensive haircut. But it was not worth, it was worth what it made me feel. So usually pay $40 to $50 USD. That's rather expensive. But typically there's barbers really close to me that have done an okay job for like $20. So it was a different. I tried something out, and you know what? I enjoyed it, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get my hair cut every month to keep it consistent and to keep it the way it looks right now, because I like it. Um, there's another point that I want to touch on in that, fitness. I have felt, and I've felt my physique improving significantly just by being so active and being so nutritionally aware and healthy with my choices and the way I move and the way that I eat. I'm so much more conscious about what I'm doing when I'm working out and what I'm putting into my body. And I have felt the difference, seriously felt the difference in the past week. And it is another aspect of confidence. And I'm not going to get into too many details, but I am currently in the healthiest point in my life in terms of my fitness and nutritional health. I am in the best state I've ever been in my life. And if I'm being honest, there is a reason my confidence has felt so much higher this week. It's because the effects of me working out and eating well have shown on my body. I physically feel slimmer and I physically look slimmer. And I feel confidence oozing out of my body because of it. I genuinely do. I have never felt healthier and I've never looked healthier as well. So, if you guys want to feel more confident in the way you look and the way you and feel, I just suggest getting a haircut and go work out and just see how much your appearance changes and changes for the better very quickly when you start working out very consistently and start eating healthy. I might give away my nutrition plan and my fitness plan at some point later on if people are genuinely interested, and I mean genuinely interested and genuinely want to use it. I'm very happy to. I have one of my friends coming with me almost every day. They don't want to go to the gym at 7:30 in the morning almost every day, but I'm fucking psychotic right now and I'm being genuine. I am so obsessed with fitness, with what I'm working on right now, that I go to the gym 7:30 every single morning for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and time fucking flies. I didn't go to the gym today because it's my active recovery day and I missed it. I was depressed that I was not at the gym. I have become so obsessed with the way I am working on my body and on my brain. And I mean that. I've never felt like this before. It is fucking amazing. So I really say this to myself in the future if I'm not on pace right now, and to people listening and to people watching, just fucking try it. Just for 2 weeks, and I promise you, you will feel awesome. Eat as clean as you fucking can. Work out as hard as you fucking can. And you will feel the effects within a week, 2 maximum. It will be so quick that you feel like a whole different person. I feel it right now. I feel that I am a different person to who I was like a month ago. Genuinely. And lastly, I'm going to wrap up personal growth by talking about a bit of a weird point. It's something I don't think anybody would ever say, but it's something that if you're really trying to change the way that you see yourself and the way that you act, I think it could help. It slightly helped me, if I'm being honest, but it's very, very particular and very odd. But I suggest picking a whole different new favorite animal. I know it sounds weird. I know it sounds really weird and doesn't make any sense. But if you hear me out, if you pick a new favorite animal that kind of resembles or kind of shows off some of the core principles that you that you have and that symbolize you, I think you'll see yourself in a whole different light, in a whole different way. By seeing yourself as and envisioning yourself and embodying yourself in a different animal and as a different being, it changes the perception of who you are. And I really think I mean that, because it's such a subtle and weird like way, but if you genuinely try it, because I did. I've never heard this point before. I literally was just like, you know what? I don't think what my favorite animal is my favorite animal. I say this as my favorite animal before was a red panda. They're cute and they are very cuddly and they are loving. But I was like, that I just like that animal because it's cute and cuddly. But is that a reason for it to be my favorite animal? I don't think it is. So I think if you find another animal you can kind of identify yourself with and find common ground in the animal world, I think it will make you feel more confident and feel more accepted in a really, really weird way. But if you genuinely just I suggest, that is it. I only suggest. And I say this because I found myself realizing that there's a lot I see myself in a lot of principles that I see myself with being very similar to an owl. So I'm saying this in the sense that I am now envisioning myself and embodying myself through in which an owl would. And I know that sounds weird. I know it does. But there's a lot of principles in the animal world that you can apply to your daily life and the way that you think and the way that you work. And if you genuinely deep it, just take a step back from it. To just pick a different animal. That's it. I just suggest you picking a different favorite animal because I want to embody myself with the strength, the wisdom, and silence that an owl possesses. Because that's what I want to be. I want to be an owl. Anyways, off. We're done. Personal growth, checked. We're going to get on to business. Obviously, personal growth was the heavy hitter. So a lot of what I worked on this week was building my confidence, working out hard, and trying to act more of me and getting a bit more me back. Next week, I kind of want to get into masculinity a little bit and discuss it because it has been something I worked on briefly this week. And I know that sounds a little concerning for a lot of people, but we'll talk about it next week. But business was another section that I put a good chunk of effort into this week. I did this work this week by focusing my idea for my business. It's tough to say what you want to do as a business, but I roughly and have come up with the concept of what I want to work on and strive to achieve in the next coming years in the future. And my focus would be on a digital marketing agency. The term is extremely broad. It covers so many different avenues. But as I said last week, I want to put my focus towards website and web development. And then maybe in the future, move into different sections of digital marketing. I know a few people close to me that are working in those different genres of marketing and digital marketing. But website and web development side of digital marketing is what I want to focus on. So in order to kind of prepare myself for building that business, obviously there are certain skills I need to require to operate and work within that industry. The main ones being HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. For those people that don't recognize those terms immediately, they are coding languages in which a website and anything in the web really kind of acts upon using any of those three different coding languages. And I've been working and learning those coding languages using Code Academy, which should be a common name within, if you know anything with coding. And now I started a Udemy course. The Code Academy courses are pretty short. They're like, you can get them done in like an hour, but the Udemy courses are 20 hours. I think maybe the one I'm taking right now is 30 hours. But I plan on working towards my business once I've achieved a reasonable skill within those languages, because can't really make a web development company if I don't know web development. So I'm not putting it off to the side as maybe it kind of seems, but more I need to build up to the point in which I can start a business, because I need those skills as foundations. I'm building the foundations of my business, and I can't do anything unless I have it. I see a message. See, I'm taking a web class next year. That is awesome. I love to hear that. That's really awesome. I will keep in contact with you about that and maybe give suggestions on what I'm working on, what I'm doing. But in terms of actual thinking points of business, there are two major thoughts and strategies that I have learned and been working out basically. And those are one product, one avatar, one service. That is a saying by Alex Hormozi, and that is how he thinks any business should start, with one product or one avatar or one service. Obviously, for me, it's more service or product side. I don't need an avatar, but the focus of it is to actually focus, to narrow your focus, instead of being the common term of a jack of all trades. And by narrowing your focus, you will become extremely more successful in your industry. And you do this by not allowing your focus to get distracted by other different means and other different products and other different services. And instead, all of your effort boils down to one thing. And by doing that, you become the best in your industry. And you'll become better at listening to customer opinions. And by listening to customer opinions, you can make your business even better. I think he says this from the sense that if you get distracted with other products and other services within your company, you won't be able to hear the voices. You won't be able to see the problems. You will just be getting constantly distracted and continued to be distracted and not achieve what you want to achieve with it. And maybe once you get to the point where you're the best in your industry, you can look outside and maybe try something else out. But maybe at that point, you also don't want to, and you're just so obsessed with what you're working on. So, yeah, one product, one avatar, one service. The next point is acting is the best form of learning. And that took me a little bit to realize and go, yeah, of course it is. That was my instant reaction. Yeah, acting is the best form of learning. Of course it is. Everyone knows that. But I haven't done it. I've never truly acted, and that's the problem. I've never sat down and gone, I want this, and I'm going to do it. Maybe with school, I've gone, I just want to get this midterm, I want to get this final over with, I'm going to study. Yeah. But I want to be successful, and I want to run a successful business. And the only way to learn how to become successful in business is to make a fucking business. And you get better by acting and by learning, and you learn by failing over and over and over again. because you're not going to succeed anytime you try until that one time you just get it. Or, hey, no, this isn't working out. And you figure out that you're missing something, you're missing a component. But as long as you fail with enthusiasm and strive to basically achieve failing, you will learn infinitely more than reading or watching any videos would ever do for you. And I need to apply that to myself. I know that I need to get these fundamental skills done to produce this business, but hey, I'm acting, and that's all that matters. Is once I reach that stage, once I finish these fundamental skills, I need to act and make sure I fail and make sure I'm happy to fail, because otherwise I won't be able to get it done successfully. And I think that wraps up business. Basically, I did a good amount of chunk in business. It was a lot of kind of self-reflection and a lot of basically coding this week. That's really all it was. And if I'm being honest, we're gonna go into school, but school is extremely short because I didn't do much school this week. And in the sense, yes, I studied and I worked, but I only got assignments done. I didn't make any progress or any advancements because there's a big assignment due this week that I had to just spend the majority of my school allocated time to finishing off. So I don't have much to say, but I know that in the next week I need to start prepping for my first midterm of the semester. So I will be focusing on different study schedules, different strategies, different ways in which I can perform at my peak ability for school, because I'm not sidetracking school for focusing on my fitness and my mental health and my business over school. School is so important, and obviously I want to build a business, but I need to finish school. I'm almost done. I'm so almost done. But I want to finish off my last bit just at the fucking peak. Just why not? Finish it off with a bang. Because fuck it, I'm never gonna come back. So I might as well just put everything into it. I'm literally saying this as a point of self-reflection right now. I want to peak. I want to peak now at school, because I never will be back. I'm not doing a master's. I'm not doing a doctorate. Fuck that. I would never be back at school. I would never do exams. I will never do this shit again. So I want to fucking finish it off with a bang. Yeah. I think that wraps up the episode, guys. I think we're done. Second episode of 1 year done. Lovely. That was awesome. I think it was a good episode. I actually really liked doing it live. We'll have to cut it down, and I'm saying this because I'm off air right now, by the way. So I'm looking towards you guys in chat. Thoughts and opinions? Puff? Sticks? Anybody still here? I'd appreciate some guys' opinions. Very good. I appreciate that. Thank you. I also appreciate the fact that you didn't troll Puff. I genuinely do appreciate that. Like, I mean that. I appreciate that you were respectful and actually asking questions and putting points forward. Fire. I don't know if you guys are trolling or not, but I'm really passionate about it, and I hope that, like, I know you guys are much younger, so if I'm being honest, a lot of stuff that I'm doing here, I am looking to you guys that I'm producing this for. Like, I mean, I'm like being serious. Like, Puff and Sticks, you guys are the kids I'm doing this for. Like, I'm producing this for you guys. This is the website. Oh, nice. Good stuff. That's awesome. But also, I do want to talk about masculinity next week. because I did learn a lot about masculinity and what it means to be more of a man. I know that sounds cringe. I know that sounds fucking weird, but there is a lot to being a man that is missed out, and I have missed out on because I'm 21 now. Like, I'm not a fucking. I know I'm a baby in this world, but I'm not a kid. I'm not an adolescent. I'm a fucking adult, and I don't feel like one. I still feel like I'm like a child, but I'm not, and I need to take care of myself, and that's what I'm doing, especially with fitness and especially with my mental health and everything. But I do want to become more of a man.